You married the girl who laughed at your jokes, who looked at you with eyes that held a future. You built a life, a shared mythology of us. And then, around the age of 40, the story changed. The script was rewritten, and you were not in the writing room. The affection, once given freely, now seems transactional. The priorities have undergone a silent, seismic shift, away from you, away from the partnership, and toward something else, a new career obsession, a sudden immersion in novel social circles, a restless dissatisfaction with everything you've built together. You were left standing in the home you made, asking a single, silent question. What happened to my wife? The problem is not that you are asking the question. The problem is that you are asking it too late. You have been interpreting her actions through the lens of your shared past, of loyalty and love, while she is being compelled by forces far older, far more brutal, and far more sovereign than your personal history. You are speaking the language of the individual. She is responding to the dictates of the species. In this video, we will dissect the biological and archetypal machinery behind this transformation. We will move beyond the superficial complaints of midlife crisis and expose the deeper tectonic plates of human nature that are shifting beneath your feet. To understand the woman at 40, you must first understand the girl at 20. Biology is not sentiment. It is a cold calculus of survival and replication. For the majority of human history, a woman's prime leverage, her cardinal source of power and security, was her reproductive value. This is not a reduction. This is the substrate upon which culture is painted. Her youth and fertility were her primary currencies in the hypergamous marketplace. Hypergamy, the drive to partner with a mate of equal or superior status and resources, is not a social construct. It is a biological imperative. It is the engine that propelled our ancestors toward security, ensuring that scarce resources flowed to the next generation. For 2 decades of her adult life, her psychology, her attractions, her anxieties were all tuned to this frequency. Secure a suitable mate, build a nest, propagate the genetic line. But biology has a timer, a brutal, unfeeling clock. Around 40, a profound and unconscious transition occurs. The biological program of direct reproduction begins its closing sequence. The ancient whispering voice that prioritized mate selection and child-rearing falls silent. For the first time since adolescence, she is not being steered, at the deepest level, by the imperative of attracting and keeping a provider for her offspring. This creates a psychic vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum. What rushes in is a different, older, and often more ruthless archetype. This is not the nurturing mother, nor the agreeable maiden. This is the queen, specifically the queen assessing the stability of her realm, independent of the king. The energy that was once directed outward toward partnership and nurture turns inward and toward consolidation of power, territory, and personal legacy. The change you are witnessing is the emergence of this archetype from the shadow self. It was always there, but it was subordinated to the greater biological project. Now it claims its throne. Her focus shifts from building with you to securing for herself. Resources are no longer primarily for the us of the family unit, but for the I that must endure for the decades of post-reproductive life that our ancestors never saw. She is, whether consciously or not, conducting a ruthless audit. Is this man, this marriage, still the optimal vehicle for my security, status, and purpose now that the children are grown? The questions of her 20s, can he provide, become the questions of her 40s. Does he limit me? You are no longer being evaluated as a progenitor, a mate. You are being evaluated as an asset in a portfolio, and every asset is judged by its continued utility. This is the raw Darwinian truth, stripped of romance. The dance of the species does not end with the last cradle. It merely changes its rhythm, and you must learn the new steps, or you will be left dancing alone in the dark. Here is where the ancient machinery fails. catastrophically. For our ancestors, this transition, this audit of the queen, had boundaries. Her world was the tribe, the village. Her status was relative to a known hierarchy. Her options were concrete and few. The fantasy of radical reinvention was constrained by the sheer, brutal weight of reality. The modern world has severed those constraints. It is a weaponized dream factory designed to exploit this very biological transition. Think of the social media feed. It is not a window into reality. It is a curated gallery of completed transformations. It is the 45-year-old acquaintance suddenly photographed on a Mediterranean yacht, her life seemingly alchemized from domesticity into glamour. It is the relentless narrative of self-actualization, a term now hollowed out and filled with the cement of pure consumption. You are not changing, you are not prioritizing yourself, you are betraying your true self. This is the siren song of the modern condition. It offers a counterfeit solution to the queen's awakening, not the hard-won sovereignty of a mature ruler within her existing kingdom, but the fantasy of abdication, of finding a new, shinier kingdom. The corporation, too, becomes a perverse temple for this energy. After decades of managing the chaotic emotional logistics of a household, the corporate world, with its clear metrics, its praise for competence, and transactional relationships, feels like a clean, well-lit refuge. It offers external validation that seems more tangible and rewarding than the complex, thankless emotional labor of a long-term marriage. The title of Vice President of Operations can feel like a clearer coronation than wife. But this is the trap. This is the modern cage, gilded with the language of liberation. The digital marketplace and the corporate ladder offer the illusion of hypergamy, the constant potential to trade up, not just for a new mate, but for a new life, a new identity. The slow, sacred work of building depth in a single place with a single person is made to look like failure, like settling. The archetype of the queen is hijacked by the specter of the consumer, forever dissatisfied, forever in search of the next upgrade for the self. This creates a profound and often unbearable cognitive dissonance. She feels a powerful biological pull toward consolidation, security, and legacy, the true queen's domain. Yet she is bombarded by a culture that glorifies perpetual rebirth, novelty, and the jettisoning of old attachments as growth. So she changes, but the change is often directionless, fueled by a reactive rebellion rather than a conscious integration. She may dismantle the stable structure of her life, mistaking the container for the thing contained. She may attack the king, you, not because he is a tyrant, but because he is a symbol of the old kingdom she feels compelled to burn down, in order to prove to herself and the watching digital world that she is indeed the sovereign of her fate. She is told she is finding herself, but in truth, she is often unmade by forces she cannot name, sold a fantasy of freedom that delivers only a more profound form of enslavement to the approval of strangers and the empty metrics of a marketplace that values only what is new. So here is the dark truth, the stone you must swallow. The woman you married was a constellation of potentials, the maiden, the mother, the queen, each waiting for their celestial season. The season has changed. The transition you are witnessing is not a personal betrayal, though it feels like one. It is the unfolding of a biological and archetypal script written in the bones of the species. You are not facing a failure of your marriage, but a confrontation with the unvarnished tear of being. The poetry of "Till Death Do Us Part" meets the prose of reproductive strategy and post-reproductive power consolidation. The comfortable myth of a static personality dissolves, revealing the dynamic and often terrifying process of becoming. You imagined you were building a life with a finished person. There is no finished person. There are only chapters, and you have turned a page into a harsher, less forgiving landscape. The Stoics understood this. They called it amor fati, the love of one's fate. Not resignation, but a clear-eyed, unwavering acceptance of reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. Your Stoic duty now is to cease interpreting her change as a commentary on your worth. See it for what it is, a natural, if tumultuous, force of nature. To rail against it is to shake your fist at the tide. Your power does not lie in controlling her transformation, it lies in commanding your own. This is the moment of your own audit. Have you too become complacent? Have you mistaken providing for a family for being a formidable man? The king who secures a realm and then spends decades admiring his portrait on the wall is a king who will be deposed. Your wife's unconscious audit is a brutal gift. It forces you to ask, what is my value beyond my utility as a provider? What is my purpose, my sovereignty, my edge? You must forge a version of yourself that is not defined by the marriage, but that can choose to stand within it from a position of strength. Do not fear. Do not beg for the return of the maiden. You cannot negotiate with the season that has passed. Instead, recognize the queen. Meet her with the unwavering boundaries and respect of a sovereign state engaging with another. Reign in your own domain, your body, your mind, your craft, your peace. Become a man of such substance that her audit concludes you are not an asset to be managed, but an allied coward to be respected. Or it may conclude otherwise, and you must have the fortitude to accept that verdict. The marriage may survive this, but it will not be the same marriage. It will be a treaty negotiated between two individuals who have passed through fire and seen the cost of their own natures. That is the only union worth having. The alternative is a slow death of resentment, a puppet show performing the ghost of a dead contract. The story didn't change. You merely reach the chapter where the fantasy ends, and all that is left is the choice to build something real or to live in the ruins of what you thought was true.